Okay, let's dive right into this. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to unpack a pretty critical situation that's currently unfolding within the Ledgewood community. Today, we're really focusing on protecting the community's shared assets. We're going to do that by looking strictly at the facts, the structural realities, and the actual governing documents that dictate how this community is supposed to operate. We're breaking down complex condo law and construction liabilities into clear, undeniable facts.
It's a seriously important question. What actually happens when a so-called simple repair ends up threatening the safety and the financial future of an entire community? Today, we're exploring this through a classic problem agitation solution framework. We're going to look at a recent physical change made to a building, explore the hidden financial and safety liabilities that this change triggered, and finally, chart a clear, community-driven path forward to resolve the whole thing.
Section 1, the Unit 26 roofline problem, a missing architectural signature. To really understand what went wrong here, we have to look at how New Hampshire's condominium law applies. When you live in an association, the exterior isn't just your house, right? It's a shared asset. And this brilliantly illustrates that shared aesthetic. Just look at the beautiful, uniform design of the Ledgewood townhomes. These signature half-moon windows and those semi-tubular dormers, they create this high-end rhythm. It's essentially the community's brand. But recently, Unit 26's half-moon window, along with its surrounding structural dormer, was completely removed. Now, let's be clear, this was not a simple patch job to fix a leak. Unit 26's half-moon window and dormer were permanently removed and completely replaced with a flat roof. This action fundamentally altered the building's structural envelope. We are literally talking about modifying the structural framing and roof sheathing of a multi-family building. And the craziest part? It was done without any town building permits or stamped engineering plans. And here is exactly where the governance failure begins. Article 7, Section 3 of the community's own governing documents strictly states, neither a unit owner nor the association shall make any alterations without first obtaining the approval in writing of the owners of all the units. Unanimous owner consent was never obtained for this. 0. Which means this substantial architectural and structural alteration was entirely unauthorized.
Section 2, Unpermitted and Unengineered Liabilities, the hidden dangers in the mountains.
Now, you might be wondering, why should anyone care about a missing window on someone else's unit? Well, Ledgewood is up in the White Mountains. The winters are incredibly harsh, and depending on your elevation, the ASCE 716 National Structural Standards show that ground snow loads up here can easily exceed 100 pounds per square foot. When you alter the geometry of a roof without engineering oversight, you completely change how that massive weight is distributed. Structural integrity up here isn't just a building code thing. It's quite literally a matter of life and death. Because multi-unit roof lines are interconnected systems, making an unengineered alteration can transfer massive amounts of stress to neighboring units, causing things like sagging or shifting over time. Furthermore, altering the building envelope triggers fire safety code compliance issues. If damage actually occurs, the master insurance policy could be completely canceled for harboring unpermitted structural work. And it gets worse. If appraisers catch wind of non-compliant alterations, banks like Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac can actually blacklist the entire community. That means making it impossible to buy or sell units here.
So the crucial point is this: the board allowed an exterior envelope change on a load-bearing roof structure without a single piece of independent safety verification. No New Hampshire licensed engineer plans, no municipal building permits, absolutely zero structural safety verification. They allowed this massive liability to be placed squarely on the shoulders of the association.
Section 3, the attorney's derisive response. Defending the indefensible. So when these severe, obvious liabilities were brought to light, how do you think the association's legal representation responded? Well, the attorney aggressively dismissed the lack of permits and owner votes in a written response. How? By somehow legally classifying the permanent eradication of an architectural window feature and the reshaping of a structural roofline as basic routine maintenance. Now, what's really interesting here is the incredibly insulting analogy the lawyer used to justify this. The attorney argued that requiring votes for this work would lead to an absurd situation where you'd have to vote on replacing a ripped window screen or a defective doorknob. This is a staggering false equivalence. We now know exactly what kind of ridiculous arguments this lawyer is charging the community for. Arguing that taking a chainsaw to a structural dormer in the White Mountains is exactly the same as replacing a doorknob is just, well, it's completely indefensible.
Section 4, MTR's glaring conflict, the fox guarding the henhouse.
So how did a volunteer homeowner board get such wildly bad advice in the first place?
We have to ask the obvious question. Who benefits when standard oversight, competitive bidding, and structural compliance are completely ignored? Who actually wins when a job is rushed through without independent estimates or municipal permits? The answer lies with the property management company, MTR.
Let's look at how this builds into a picture of a wildly inappropriate dual role. On one hand, MTR acts as the property manager. That's the very entity supposed to advise the board on legal compliance and demand engineering plans. Yet MTR is also the contractor who actually performed the unpermitted structural work and directly profited from it. And because they also oversee the finances, they somehow avoided getting competitive bids or external estimates for what turned into six-figure siding and roofing work.
What this ultimately means is that MTR basically certified the structural soundness of their own unpermitted work without ever getting an independent engineering report. This represents a massive professional failure. It is the literal definition of the fox guarding the henhouse. This gross conflict of interest has put the entire association in a deeply perilous legal and structural predicament. Section 5. Demand a remediation plan, acting like adults for our community. We've established the problem, and we've uncovered the very real liabilities. Now, the community must pivot and demand a remediation plan. We cannot have a situation where just one homeowner is forced to spend their own time and their own funds communicating with the association's expensive attorney, especially now that we see the kind of insulting doorknob-comparing nonsense that lawyer is charging us for. Instead, the whole community must collectively demand that the board step up, act like adults, admit a huge mistake was made here, and put together a solid plan to fix it. That plan is straightforward, but it requires immediate action. Step 1. The board admits the compliance mistake. Step 2. Frankly, heads must roll here, specifically MTR. The association absolutely must fire MTR as the management company because their self-interest and gross negligence are what caused this dangerous liability. Step 3. Hire independent third-party structural engineers to assess the damage. And Step 4. Execute a fully permitted, legally compliant remediation plan. I'll leave you with this final thought. Are we just going to sit around and wait for a roof collapse under 100 pounds of snow? Are we going to wait for the master insurance to be canceled or the whole community to be blacklisted by banks? Or will we step up, contact the board today, and act like adults to secure Ledgewood's future? The choice is entirely up to us. Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Reach out to the board, ask the hard questions, and let's protect this community's assets together.